just did a full podcast episode. Full episode, I mean fire episode, heat. And our intern, Ethan, didn't hit the record button. You see what happens when you try to give somebody some responsibility, because you've been watching them. They've been doing well. They've been growing. You've been saying, okay, they're ready to accept some responsibility, because hitting the record button is light, right, big dog? It's light. We just did a fire episode of some heat.
For those of you that are in the basketball world, let me kind of give you a breakdown of Ethan's responsibility with this team.
Right.
All he's got to do is inbound the ball.
That's it.
Inbound the ball.
And cut through the middle and give out space. Just inbound and get out the way.
And what he just did was basically like getting the ball from the referee and passing the ball to somebody in a different color jersey.
Yeah. Everybody that watched Fresh Prince, you remember that episode when Will was about to shoot the game-winning shot and Carl came in there and took it and airballed it? That's what he just did. He stole our thunder, man. I'm telling you, we was killing it. It was rough. But luckily for him, man, we gonna throw some punches at him, but we still gonna give him a hug later and we're gonna roll with it. Now listen, like, I got some things coming, some ideas that we've been working on, and I was trying to just ease him into it. Now I'm putting the fire on him. Now he gotta deliver something serious now. That's crazy. And we started the pod off, the one that didn't get recorded. We were talking about Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson, right? Because part of me being older, being a part of the digital media and the social media generation, I got to keep my OG up to date. You know, I remember my OG told me that Roy Jones Jr. was a part of one of his pro teams. Told me he used to fly the private jet from Pensacola, Florida to New York to come hoop, right? And all that is crazy because, you know, Roy Jones, most boxers who are killing it, they be big time anyway. But Roy Jones is about to get in the ring with that man, Iron Mike. And I was showing OG videos of that. And he was looking at me thinking I was playing.
I'm like, leading up to this, I thought this was just some type of promotion for some charity event or something. I didn't think it was real. Roy Jones is a legend in his own right, but let me say this, in his own weight class.
Yes.
Iron Mike Tyson is a completely different animal.
Man.
And
we gotta show you the video where
I'm concerned.
Where Mike Tyson almost knocked out his trainer. Just going on the pads, man. Like, that's gonna be wild. And then the undercard, big dog. The undercard is Nate Robinson, you know, dunk champ, NBA pro, and Jake Paul, YouTuber, to box. Like, you know, it's getting out of hand over there. It's getting a little crazy, man.
That makes more sense than Mike Tyson against Roy Jones Jr.
Yeah.
That doesn't even sound right.
Yeah. You know, I cannot believe we got to do this whole episode over. I'm telling you guys that know us, you know, oh my goodness, look at Mike, man. Look at that.
Yeah, that is no ordinary 50-year-old, just so y'all know.
Man, Roy, who loves Roy Jones? Whoever loves Roy Jones, they got to sit him down and be like, look, we got to rethink this. You know, maybe you get sick a week before the fight. Like, maybe you broke your toe or something, and you got to sit back and rethink it.
You just got to pull a T.I. When T.I. made a mistake and called out Buster, and Buster responded, T.I., that, you know, a couple of days later was like, all right, yeah, I was definitely drinking a little too much that night. And, you know, and he made it right. That's all Roy Jones got to do. We ain't gonna hold that against him.
No, it's too late. You can't back down from Mike. Mike ain't gonna let you. Mike a bully. Mike gonna be like, nah, we signed this contract. I'm gonna come fight you wherever you are. We gonna fight at the ranch.
You just gotta cut the check, man. You just gotta cut the check.
Look.
I mean, I'm not putting my physical well-being on the line dealing with Mike Tyson. I'm sorry. But Roy Jones is fast.
Yeah,
but if one of those blows connects,
they gonna connect too. Hey, but look, man, Bridgin The Gap podcast, episode 4. I'm here with my OG, Julian King. I'm Ryan Yates, your host, your co-host. We're here with our young contributor, Ethan, who just tricked it up. He dropped the ball, airballed the free throw.
He tricked the dough. He old head.
He airballed the free throw. But we here, episode 3, back in. I would ask how you feeling, OG, but I already asked and I know how you feeling, So let's address a few things. A few things we talk about on our Instagram. Ethan put up a little post at the end of our Saturday hoop sessions. And Saturdays are our longest days. We in the gym from like 9:30 in the morning to like 8 o'clock. And, that last couple hours we're there, we're hooping. We're training some people. And then we're working out and playing with some of the college-age kids, and now some parents are getting in, some fathers, and we're working with them too. But, as I said on the podcast before, I've been torturing everybody, as I should, because I'm younger, still in shape, still able, but still torturing the young guys too. I've been torturing everybody, right? So Ethan asked the question, who do you think got the best of today's sessions, right? And it's 67%, I think, thought Coach did. I don't know if it's because I was sitting down in the picture. I was well rested after, torching everybody for a minute, and then Coach was standing up. And some of you guys were tripping and thinking Coach got the best of me. Let me just say this, Coach, when you're an OG like Coach, when you're a little bit older, you always try to finesse games a little bit too, right? So, I won the first 4 games, torching them. Coach talking about, I got him. I think I got him. I don't know. He's switching off and then somebody else guard me, torching him too. We getting wins. But then I started to look up and, everybody got subs. We playing 4-on-4 full court with 12 people in the gym where we could have just, or 13, where we could have just played 5-on-5 and had a sub, I didn't get no sub on my team. It's torching though. And I look up and Coach got subs coming in. He playing strategic little subs and stuff. I'm like, yo, what's going on here? What's going on? My team looking at me like, yo, Coach, can we get a break? And I'm like, no, we got to keep going. We winners. And they like, yo, but they got subs over there. And I'm like, you're right. Then we finally take an L, and I'm like, I'll let the little ones go play. Because, sometimes you win so much, you know what I'm saying? You got to let people get in their W's, right? Because you don't want them to leave bad. So they playing 4-on-4, and all of a sudden, I ain't done yet. All of a sudden, they playing 5-on-5. And I'm like, yo, what is this? Like, y'all just, the last game, 10 minutes left before we got to leave for badminton to come in. Y'all want to play 5-on-5. What was up, man? What was your energy?
First of all, friends and family that know me know I'm going to be fair and square with everything I do. All right, we're in a situation where, we're playing 4-on-4 full court to have more space on the floor. So now when you lose, it means more because you gotta get off to the side. And I took the extra player so that I could sometimes sub out because I'm coaching at the same time.
But you didn't sub out.
Coach Ryan likes to stay in the game the entire time. But you can't gloat about being the youngest, the strongest, the fastest, and the most skilled player on the court. But then you talk about how you didn't get a sub. It's one way. Let me finish, man. Let me finish. I'll let you go for like 45 seconds and I didn't interject. So you can't have it both ways. Either you're going to play or you not play. And so, yes, he was sitting down at the end because I put him off. And I knew that it mattered to him because he said some choice words that I'd rather not repeat here live on air. And so that picture was captioned just right. I was standing, he was sitting. He was beaten into submission. So he was bowing down.
Who got the most wins? Who got the most wins?
You're only as good as your last game.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody hear that.
I'm just
feel
saying.
That. And you know our motto. You're only as good as your last game.
This is what's crazy though, is the sub wasn't for me. And you didn't sub out either.
I did sub out.
Look, I had some young kids on my team. I had one guy that got potential. He like 12, and I had him on my team, and he was giving y'all buckets too. I had a young lady, and I had another young cat that I didn't even want on my team. He was a college kid. I wanted him to be on the opposite team so I could torch him because he'd been talking trash. But you split the teams up all crazy. The sub wasn't even for me. It was for my guys. But it's okay, though, because sooner or later we're going to get a camera in there so they can see you getting torched and see what really goes on. But, I just want the Instagram people to know that, no, Coach didn't get the best of me. And again, tomorrow when we play, Saturday when we play, it's going to be a wrap. It's all good.
Before we dive into, some of the main topics today, I want to say this. You're going to have some good days. You're going to have some bad days. You're going to win some. You're going to lose some. Man. It's how you bounce back.
You done?
That matters.
You done?
Yes, I'm done.
That's crazy, man. Look, Bridgin The Gap podcast. We here. If you follow us on Instagram at Bridgin The Gap _. We're also here as basketball trainers, basketball coaches, just good people to be around. And you can find us at Hoopmountain.ae. Our Instagram is at Hoopmountain.DXB. We also have Facebook pages as well. Follow, click in, tap in, subscribe, like, do all those good things and tap in with us. We're good guys. You'll have some fun with us, as you can see. I can't believe you just started off like this, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's go. And Ethan, man, I don't know, Coach. Ethan might be in college, but he might got to buy us dinner, big dog.
Oh no, he's got to do something. You got
to call moms or something. You got to make something happen. Like, man, and what's so upsetting too is like I got plans. We got plans for Ethan. You know what I'm saying? We got plans for Ethan, and he just. It's a little thing. We remember everything. I mean, you've been teaching me that too, as business owners, as guys that you want to grow and progress and own companies or small business. You got to do every little thing, and so now I watch every little thing even more. All he had to do is press the button, King.
Yeah, it's simple. So now we got to come in and we got to have an agenda for E. So wherever he's sitting. We got to have a little notepad with highlighted topics on there and things that he has to check off each 15 minutes.
Word, though.
I already let you live a little bit by coming here with dinosaurs on your socks.
Dinosaurs. He got the gray toe socks with the yellow and teal. He got teal dinosaurs.
Brontosaurus, T-Rex. Stegosaurus, all that stuff. Come on, man.
Pastel colors.
Come on, man.
Easter colors on the socks, man. That is nuts, man. It's okay. It's
Never
okay.
again.
Yeah, we're going to teach you, man. You're going to learn. We're going to get you there, man. Yeah, man. That's love, though. But when let's get into today's topics, and generally a lot of our topics come from our daily conversations with each other. Conversations we may have with our young bucks that we're talking to at home, or people that kids that we're helping mentor and train here. And one of the things that we see a lack of is discipline in players. And I know for you, Coach, you played high level. You played high level college. You were pro. You can still get to it. You've coached every level, and you're a teacher as well, right? Like you've been a teacher in private schools in DC for years. So the one thing that is that discipline is an imperative ingredient. You got to have it to get to wherever you want to go. But as somebody from a player, because you got a different perspective because you're a player first. And I think that's advantageous. You're a player first. So as a player first, and then being a coach, from your own experience, how do you help instill discipline in players and, give them what is tactics, or what do you say? What's going on?
Instilling discipline in the players is somewhat tricky, being that everybody is their own player. They have different things that make them tick. And you as a coach, you have to try to figure out what's the best way to reach them. And then you as a coach also have to be an example of that discipline, so they can have some type of guideline to follow. And, trying to get a player to stay disciplined or become disciplined, you're going to have to kind of, how can I say it, find a way that motivates them, and see what their wants and their desires are in terms of being a basketball player. Because until you know those things, it's going to be hard to instill discipline in them, because what they may want may not be obtainable if they're not disciplined. And you have to show them why they need to be disciplined in order to reach their goal.
Yeah, that's an important statement. You dropped a bomb right there, to where you got to establish your want, your why. Why are you waking up and doing what you're doing? What's going to push you forward, right? And I think that's a lesson for people outside of a sport as well. Like I always say, you wake up in the morning on those days when the weather is not so good, you're not feeling as good. Maybe you're extra sore from the gym the day before, or maybe the routine is becoming tough. But those people who are really, really disciplined and who don't roll over and let that one little thought creep in saying, forget it, I can take this day off, or I don't have to do that. They're disciplined and they keep going because they know why they're waking up and doing what they're doing, right? Like we have to go through that all the time here between the business that we're growing, the company that we're growing. This is not easy by any means, right? And we don't see any of the fruits from our labor right now, like not even close to any of that. And we've planted so many seeds, but when it gets tough, we wake up because, one, we're doing this because we're here as family. You and I, like, we know, like, we look to the left, to the right, and we know that both of us are going to do whatever it takes to make sure we're successful, because we want success for each other. And then two, we want to grow basketball. We want to be successful at that. We want to make that happen. So when we have to deal with incompetence or anything like that, or a struggle, we're going to keep going. That's where the discipline comes in, right?
Yeah, that the number one thing with trying to get the discipline into somebody is giving them examples of someone that they admire and what challenges they had to go through each time. And you probably have to say this over and over and be real consistent with this, in that, while you're sitting down and taking a day off, there's somebody out there that's working.
Yeah.
And and that has to have it has to put fear in your heart that I don't want anybody to outwork me and to get ahead of me.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And we talk to a lot of our young guys that we help now, and one in particular, the one young man that we're going to help send over back to America to hoop, and saying, there's really no excuse for you, right? Like, whatever it is that you're doing, the work is not enough because you were doing it before. And now you're trying to get to a place that you've never been. You don't know what it looks like. Nobody around you knows what it looks like, but we do. And we're telling you, you need to work harder. So, when you can't be around, I think that's something that we have to, that we're going to address here, is when kids aren't with you, right? Because that's one of the things where discipline becomes tough, is when a kid that doesn't see you or hear your voice like he does in that 1 hour, then they start to drift off and get away. But like you said, you got to find an anchor. You got to find somebody that, like, for instance, Jimmy Butler, right? Like we told the young buck, go look at Jimmy Butler. He didn't come with the genes. He didn't come with none of the natural extra ability. He just worked. He put in his hours. He didn't complain about nothing. He put in work. Everything that you see is sweat equity. I put in the time, I put in the sacrifices, I let it go, and I was like, I'm going to go here. Like, that's where that discipline come from.
Yeah. When you see Jimmy Butler, some kids are going to say, well, he is 6'6", 6'7". He can jump somewhat. But what they're not understanding is that if Jimmy Butler didn't have his work ethic, Jimmy Butler wouldn't have been in the finals this year, leading the Miami Heat. Sure. He wouldn't have had those historic moments.
For sure.
I think it was maybe Game 3, Game 5, something like that.
Game 3.
Yeah. He would be an average ball player.
Yeah.
Would he still be in the NBA? Probably not, because he wouldn't have been. His work ethic is something that makes him stand out amongst others. And if you dig a little deeper and you think about his background growing up, he didn't have some of the resources that some other players have.
Right.
And he took that and he ran with it and used that as motivation that no matter what I have in front of me, I'm just going to outwork whoever is there.
Exactly.
Whoever I'm competing with. And therefore, he's in the NBA and he's one of the better players.
Yeah, that brings me to a point to where you talk about he wouldn't even be in the league, right? I remember I might have been going to the 9th grade, and a coach he was a women's coach at TC at the time. He was trying to relay a message to me. He was trying to teach me something, saying that you're a dime a dozen, right? He's saying that, a guy like you, that body type, that everything, you're a dime a dozen, which means that, there's always going to be somebody like you. At that time, at that age, I took offense to it because I didn't really understand what he was saying. I know I was upset, crying, I was doing all types of stuff, upset. And I was like, what you mean I'm a dime a dozen, blah, blah, blah. But in retrospect, he was telling me, look, there's one for you, for every one you, there's 1,000 more somewhere else that can do exactly the same thing that you can do, right? What are you going to do to stand out? And I salute that coach now, because at the time, I was upset all over the place because I was young and didn't know any better. But, that was a valuable message. You're a dime a dozen. Right. You're not the only one walking around here at 6'6" or whatever other size. Like, there's a lot of you that want to do what you do and have the same tools that you do. But the difference is the action. Everybody don't put in the same work.
And that's real important that you said that. That you gave everybody an example of your emotions at that time. Mm-hmm. But now as you've gotten older, you've experienced certain things, you respect that coach more so than some other coaches.
Absolutely.
And
he wasn't even my coach, is another thing.
Right. And see, that's even more profound. Players today, I want everybody listening to understand this, that if you're dealing with a coach, teacher, mentor, or somebody that's in your inner circle that's a little older than you, a little more experienced than you, and they're giving you their honest opinion on something that you're doing or something that you've done, and you don't agree with it, then you want to keep them around.
Right.
Because you don't want somebody to always be a yes man in your corner, because therefore, no matter what you do, they're always going to give you their approval.
Yeah.
You need somebody to combat what you're doing sometimes, so you can sit back and assess the situation and make the right decision. Yeah. Because if someone's always telling you what you want to hear, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not the right thing.
Yeah. And that takes, like, understanding that, right, is also important for just people in general. Like, the people you hang around say a lot about the person that you are anyway, right? Like, when you talk about discipline is something that's engraved in who you are as a person, right? It's something that just says a lot about your character. And what also says a lot about your character and helps with that discipline is the people that you have around you, right? Like, you say it all the time, like, I'm hard-headed as hell, right? You tell me stuff, we talk back and forth. I ask questions. There's a lot for me that I need to learn, but you don't hesitate when telling me anything, right? And, we're going on over a decade relationship, and we're evolving and blossoming into a new relationship as business partners, right? But you still give me that same type of feedback, right? Like, whether or not I like it in the moment or not, I always take it and sit with it. But I got to have that around me. So, like my mom would say, what you do in the dark will come to the light, right? And the people that you have around you are those that are going to represent who you think you are on the inside. So make sure, like, when you being disciplined and you learn to instill discipline, you surround yourself with people who are disciplined, people who are like-minded, right? What do you think on that, Coach?
I think that's absolutely right. The people around you often characterizes what type of person you are and what type of actions you take. If you're around people that don't have the same interests, don't have the same goals in mind, then it's a situation where they can't help you, you can't help them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that you need to have friends that you can always have them do something for you or you do something for them, but you guys have to be able to feed off each other.
Yeah.
And especially, you're young and you're trying to figure things out. You want to be around people that are like you, or maybe a little further along than you,
mm-hmm.
and
mm-hmm.
and you're looking for them for inspiration and things like that to further who you want to be as a person.
Yeah.
And so that's the key. Your success greatly evolves around the people you're with.
Yeah, that's and what's dope about that too is that doesn't mean you have to completely disregard the other friends that you might have grown up with. I think everybody, we talk about basketball, right? And I think basketball, like I said it a million times, it's the greatest metaphor for life. But the one thing about being on a basketball team is you understand people have roles, right? Yeah. So even in your life, you should have let's say we put it invisibly like a chart, right? It's like a circle, and then each circle is an inner circle and there's an outer circle, right? Your inner circle, the ones that are closer to you, the ones that got the access to you, the ones that you deal with the most, the ones that you share emotion with, those should be the ones that reflect you, right? They reflect who you are, they reflect the values that you hold. They move the same way that you move, right? They can challenge you, and it's coming from a place of love, and you can accept that, right? And then, of course, you got the friends that you just kick it with, you just cool with. It's a different energy when you're around them. You just got somebody that, I can't sit and talk to them about some of the biggest problems in my life, or if I'm struggling with some things, I can't do that. But they're fun to be around, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it's okay to have that understanding. But what that means is you got to understand yourself, right? Like you got to be able, as a man, control your masculine energy for when one of your friends challenges you and tells you you're not doing something right, telling you that, you're steering off path. You got to be able to accept that and say, all right, but you got to take some time to work on you first. You know what I'm saying?
Right. If you have friends and every time they say something and you disagree with them, they disagree with you, and you have a serious problem with that, and it lingers on over time, then you definitely need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
Friendships evolve based on, we have to agree that sometimes we will disagree.
For sure. And for us, 20 years apart, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? That happens all the time. Man.
Every day.
Yeah,
in the car.
Absolutely, all the time. But one thing that's important, because I always say, when we're talking about bridging the gap, because, that's the title for a reason, it's important. We need more of our OGs our old heads sitting and passing game forward to our younger guys. Like, the problem is, and I think it's like an age-old, like, patriarchy thing, to where you can talk with an OG, but they don't let you have an opinion about things. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like sometimes the older generation, they completely disregard what we have to say, right? Just because you're older, they think that they automatically know what's right. And I've come to understand that, I've seen people who just listen to somebody without any explanation or questioning just because they were older. And, you and I both know older people, because you're a certain age, that doesn't equate to maturity or knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole different space, right? But, some of those old heads, they don't really have the space or the wherewithal to, have somebody, reflect back with like, but I'm thinking like this,
You put it in a nice way, a gentle, politically correct way. I'll say it. For all of you old farts out there, my age and older,
yeah,
we can still listen to the younger guys and learn something.
Yeah.
When there's things that I don't know, I don't pretend that I know them. I go and ask Coach Ryan.
That's a fact.
I go and ask Coach Ethan. And like the social media stuff, I don't really deal with it.
Yeah.
So whenever I have a question or some current events that aren't in my wheelhouse, I go and ask. Yeah. Because whether you're a basketball player, you're a coach, or just in life in general, you're still learning every day.
Yeah, that's real. Like, and we talked about that earlier too. I was like, I feel like some people, as they get older, they limit themselves and they don't continue to evolve and try to be around younger and other things and pick up some more tools so they can grow. Because like I always say, what you got, like, it's tough to put in all the knowledge that you have basketball wise within this hour or hour and 30 of a podcast because it's so much. Right? It's just different. But then with everything that you have, there is a completely different world that I experience that just gives me a completely different perspective, right? And at times, we talk and we have moments to where, you see things one way, I see things another way. But even when you disagree with how I'm doing things or, where I'm carrying it, you never tell me not to ever do it again. You just tell me to approach it different. So I think that's a part of the messaging that gets, pushed off. You give me more of the R.C. Davis, the OG stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like than some of the other guys. So, that's always appreciated. But that helps with discipline. That helps instill those things into the young guys. So discipline is important. But as a player, how did you put that into your routine as a youngin' though? Like when you were in your prime in your 20s and you were being pro, or when you were working from college to pro, like how did you make sure you instilled that too for the young people out there that are aspiring to keep pushing?
It just became a part of my everyday life. Just in terms of me getting up every day, whether after, it's working out early in the morning after having a late night or something like that. That just became a part of my everyday life because I knew the lifestyle I wanted to live, and I wanted to be in basketball in some capacity. And at that particular time, I was still playing, so I knew that for me to continue playing, I needed to work on my game every day. There's moments where, you take a day or two off, but no matter what you're doing, you find time to work on some aspect of your game, whether it's your diet, whether it's you're working on your ball handling, your shooting, whether it's working just on the mental aspect of it, you're watching film of other players and things like that. But you'll find a way to work on your game daily. And before you know it, it just becomes something that's natural where you don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah. And that's rooted in you understanding your why, right? Like understanding why you waking up after going to being out partying, having fun, doing what a 20-year-old do. And you might go to bed at 2:00 and you wake up at 6:30. Right. And the reason why you still did that is because you understand your why. Like establish those goals, like figure out what it is and make it happen,
And before we move on, Coach, let me just say this to everybody. You have to love what you do.
Man. But when you say that though, Coach, because I think like that's a dangerous statement too. Because someone loving what you do. When you're a basketball player, yeah, I think you better love it.
It's anything in life.
But it's tough because you think about it like I think it's what you prioritize. Because some people don't prioritize work as, what moves them. That's why I say like you got to figure out what it is. Because you might look at work just as something that like get you your tool to do other things that you love to do. But the work itself don't have to be what you love to do. You know what I'm saying?
But we're talking about basketball in particular.
Yeah, for sure.
If you decide to put in the work every day to make yourself a better basketball player, and you do this over a 1-2 year period, more than likely you love what you do.
Yeah.
And so absolutely. Whether you're a professional player, whether you're a coach in some capacity, you love what you do. You love those challenges.
Yeah.
So therefore, whatever you're supposed to do to keep you in that realm of basketball, you're not going to think about it. It's going to be second nature because this is what I do.
Yeah.
This is in my DNA.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say you have to love it. Yeah. If you don't love it, then you're going to reach a certain point, and then you're going to say, I'm going to make a decision and do something else. But basketball has taken me this far, and I fulfilled, the goals that I had put in place.
For sure.
But if you love it, you'll continue to fight on.
Notice to everybody listening, what Coach just talked about, none of that was rooted in money, right? Like, we always often hear people talk about, you got to have something that's bigger than just money as your goal. And, the money is the result, but it's not the mission. Like, it's always bigger than that dollar. Like, once you can get past that and you push forward to that, you can get somewhere with that. And that also brings me to the point of you don't really have an excuse if you're able-bodied, right? We've had sometimes and I've learned this too, which is cool, is being around kids or being around teenagers, you always have interesting moments because they say, what's that one show from back in the day? Kids say the darndest things, right? One coach read a text message to me this week. The kid was like, "What do I do to work on to get taller?" Like, it was a genuine question. It was a genuine question. Genuine question. He had all the, he had the intentions were there, right? He just really wanted to know because he's like, man, I can't get anywhere because I don't have the genes. Like, can I work on that, right? And we live in an age where they'll market anything to you. They'll market diet pills to you. You know what I'm saying? They'll market some new face creams, a new toothpaste that's supposed to make your teeth whiter than ever. Like, they'll market anything to you to make you feel like you can change, just your God-given genes, right? But what about those? What do we say to those kids that are really worried about having the right genes, right?
Stop worrying about your genes. That's number one.
Number one.
Focus on the things that you can control. One, your mind. You can always learn more about the game by becoming smarter. Two, work on your skills. You can always sharpen your skills and increase your skill level. Three, you can work on your physicality. You may not be as tall as you want to be, but you can become stronger. You can become quicker. You can work on your jumping ability. You can just be a better athlete overall. Those are the things you need to worry about. If you sit around and worry about, well, my dad is only 5'9", so I'm not going to be 6'6", so I can't be a basketball player, you've already lost.
Yeah.
You're defeated.
Absolutely, because you got to play the cards that you're dealt, right? You can't really worry about all of those things you can't control because Michael Jordan had kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, Magic had kids.
Yes.
Magic had kids. Like, all of those guys had kids, but those kids didn't turn out to be great. LeBron might be the one exception, potentially with Bronny and Bryce. But, even then, those guys put in work. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can tell Bronny put in work because from even just one summer, his balance changed and all his body changed. But that's work. That don't have anything to do with genes. That's more about the time and effort that you put in personally.
Yeah. Just a quick side note for all the listeners out there, when Coach Ryan brought up Bronny, being that his dad is LeBron James, Bronny's not that tall right now.
Nope.
And whenever LeBron James is putting stuff on social media about his sons getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to work out, that tells you right there, it's all about work ethic and heart.
Absolutely. And then when you think of like we had a convo off air about Fred VanVleet, because, that's a guy that's undrafted. He's a free agent right now. He's going to get paid, you know what I'm saying? And he's done nothing but optimize his potential, right? So like what you got to do is you don't worry about the genes you got or didn't get. You worry about optimizing the potential based on what you have yourself, right? So I can't jump 44 inches in the air. I can't do any of those things. But what I can do is I can make sure I'm the strongest that my body is supposed to be at when I'm at optimal performance. I can make sure that my mind is at the sharpest point it could possibly be for me personally. And from there, you write your own ship. Because you don't know what happens, right? You don't know how great you become if you just take care of what you got to take care of within the tools that you have, right? It's never about some genes. Like, when the kid said that, I'm talking about, what do you mean? It was vividly, he was talking about dunking. Another kid was talking about dunking. He said, I can't dunk because I don't have the genes. I was like, what you dunking in Levi's? What you mean jeans? What are you talking about? He said, I can't dunk. I'm like, yo, do you know I practice dunking? Do you know we practice dunking? Like I think I got my first dunk in like 8th grade or something like that. But like a lot of my friends around me were dunking already. Well, not my friends, but my peers were dunking already or whatever. But it was pressure for me to get in there and dunk. And those for all those old DC Blue Devils guys, like, you had those all age practices at Gwynn Park where we had the individual skill workouts and, everybody dunking and all that stuff. So where, you got to go do and show something. So what I did was I went back home. I went back to TC and I went to Alexandria and I'm practicing dunking. I'm practicing. Like, that ain't something that you just roll out the bed and can do. Like, I'm not Vince Carter. No Vertimax. I remember watching the people walk around with those heavy shoes, those shoes that make you walk on your toes, yep. And they still couldn't jump. Like, you just got to go out there and do it. It ain't no trick to this. Ain't no shortcut, as you would say. It ain't no shortcut to none of that. You got to put in the work, man. Take care of that process, yo. So the genes don't matter, man. Whether you got it or you don't, you just got to put in the work, right? You ain't going to be Vince Carter. Cool. So what? But that gives you an idea of like where kids are mentally, right?
Yeah, I mean, but we're in that age of shortcuts. Mm-hmm. You want to find some information on things right now. What do? Google. In my generation, we had encyclopedias.
Ask Jeeves. Yeah, where is Jeeves at? Somebody find out where Jeeves at right now.
So, you...
Hold on. You had encyclopedias. Did they come knock on your door, mom's door, and sell you the whole like volume of them joints?
People have come by to sell encyclopedias, yes. Yes.
Hey, you know what's funny though is I meant like my generation is like I was born in 92. My generation is like at the very end of that type of energy because my mom had a typewriter in the house for me. She had a little encyclopedia thing, but then like right after that internet hits. But dang, the encyclopedia king.
Yeah, I'm old, man.
You seasoned, man. You seasoned, but you're right though. Like, I just was having a talk with, one of my friends here. I was talking to her and I was like, yo, like, I've been crying thinking about Sunday dinners at home, right? Like those slow cooked meals. And you from Georgia, King. So I know y'all really got to it, right? Because Thanksgiving is coming around. And, I don't necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving, the actual holiday, but the idea of it is family oriented. And that's love, right? It's a family gathering, right? We don't support the other stuff, but it's a family gathering. I know Coach King been sending me texts like, yo, Thanksgiving coming, we got to find something to dig into, right? But those slow cooked meals, right? I remember those slow cooked meals. I remember mom's potato salad, the cabbage, the mac and cheese, the cornbread, and the skillet. Like I remember all of those things, right? Slow cooked, put energy into it. You don't remember those TV dinners. No. Those don't hit the same. Like it ain't the same. It's the same thing with your work ethic. You got that slow cooked. It ain't no shortcut. If it's a shortcut, then I probably don't want it, and it probably not gonna feel as good. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Yeah. But we'll take it to that next space. You said there's no shortcuts, right, OG?
Right.
No shortcuts. But what that means is you got to go through every emotion. You got to go through all of that action. You got to go through everything it takes to get to what you want, right? No matter what it is. Right. There's a lot of people giving lip service. When I say lip service, I mean it's that gift of gab, right? They can go to Alaska and sell ice to Eskimo. You know what I'm saying? They can sell, they can sell bread to a baker, right? They can make it sound like it's the best thing ever. But when it's time to put in that work, it's a little different. It's for everybody out there saying they proficient in Excel, but when a company comes to you and say, "Oh, I need this spreadsheet like this," hold on, take a little bit of time. But like the lip service versus action. Talk to me about that, OG. But don't tell me like that PC. Tell me the truth about how people like that make you feel.
That bothers me.
Yeah,
like it bothers me to the core, and it's displayed in, and we're going to use basketball terms here. When a basketball player walks into the gym and he or she has on all of the latest gear, and it's okay to have on the newest Kobe's or what have you, but when you have too many accessories, the real hoopers are looking at you like you either need to be able to hoop or you're faking the funk. And so you're a target. So you come in, you look, you got the latest shoes. You went overboard and spent an extra $100 on the shoes. You got the long socks with the NBA logo. You got the headband with the NBA logo. You got the matching jersey and shorts, which is a no-no. I don't care what generation you're in. And you come out there and you can't take more than 2 dribbles.
Word.
So somewhere along the line, you've heard that you were God's gift to basketball.
Something. Oh, you just felt it. You got the audacity.
And if someone did say that to you, without saying, you say, hey, you have a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. We got to put in some work though. And as opposed to just saying, hey, you got it. Word. We're good. Let's roll. No.
That's right.
You got to take a player and start from the ground up and give them some fundamentals, because when the lights come on and they feel that pressure, they got to be able to go into their bag and know that there's something there that they can pull out.
Word. And that stuff's not easy, man. Like, when you talk about putting in action and getting to that point to where you prepare for all those things that you talk about you want, like you don't just get there easily. You got to put in work. You got to make sacrifices. You got to get humbled. Like you're going to get to a point to where you're going to be uncomfortable. Like when we talk about how we got here, right? And I talk to you all the time about like it's crazy sometimes, and I'm like, I just want to win. I need to win because it's been so much that I've had to like endure from even before here, but just from grad school and everything else. But I always said like I wanted a lot of things. I talked about wanting a lot of things. Like my friends, my family know I wanted a lot of things. I want to do a lot of things. I want to be responsible for some things, but all those things require a lot of action. You got to put in a lot of work for those things, right? So I remember saying, like in grad school, those things were those years were transformative for me because I had to really sit and be in uncomfortable spaces and grow and get out of those things and become a new me, right? And so what happens is people get comfortable. They talk without talk, but when it's time to put you in that fire, and that fire means you got to burn the old you and walk out a new you, you like, I'm not sure. And then what happens is when the opportunity finally comes, when you get the call from your OG like, yo, let's go to Dubai and build something, people are going to get nervous because they're like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can, but me, I done been stripped down. My confidence done been, stripped down. Then had to rebuild it and build real confidence. And now it's like, okay, whatever I tell you I'm going to do it. And that action is there, but that's not easy. That's not easy at all.
It's definitely not easy. But, when you're in when you've had a chance to be in those uncomfortable situations, you have a lot of confidence in yourself.
For sure.
And it's not confidence that you will be successful all the time. It's confidence that you're going to put in the work to give yourself a chance to be successful. And that's all you want, because you can sit back and be complacent and still not be successful. Yeah. Or you can step out there in a leap of faith and relying on your work ethic and say, you know what, I got a legit chance at this. This is something I could possibly do. And that's what we need the new generation of basketball players to think about, in that it's no shortcuts. you gotta put in the work and be fearless.
Word.
Because when the lights come on, it's a different environment.
Yeah, and look, and when you standing across from one of them wolves, and they bark a little different, they bite a little different, like ain't no hiding that. And that's for coaches as well too. Coaches and trainers, like you can have these kids doing anything you want with a tennis ball off the wall and anything else, but when you get across from a guy that really knows how to teach them how to score and really understands, like, this is how you get to your spots and your spaces and, what goes on here and why you make this move. That's different from having a kid do a bunch of these 2-ball dribbling moves and all these other different things, and they don't know how to apply any of that.
It's everything you do, especially with young players, it's got to make sense in the long run. If it's not something that they can easily transfer to the game, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Word.
That's just how it is. Once they get to a point where they have a solid foundation and they can do X, Y, and Z, then you can add on a piece here and there because one, you want to keep them motivated. Two, you want to keep them from being bored.
Yeah.
You want to challenge them.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Fundamentals. Because when it's all said and done, if you can't get a bucket, if you can't get by somebody, you can't stop somebody, you can't do certain things on the court to give yourself a chance to stay on the court, everything you've done so far doesn't make sense.
Word. And you talked about confidence, right? Like real confidence, right? And I've grown to understand that for me, in my paradigm, in my mind, I think real confidence is knowledge, right? Like you're confident in something when you know how to do it, right? And then once you've learned how to research, put things together and apply it, you're confident in the fact that if I don't know, I know how to find out so I can do it. And there's really no excuse because people going to the moon, so they say, people going to Mars, so they say, people doing all these type of extravagant things every day. There's no excuse for you to feel like you can't do something yourself. You just got to go find the information and apply it yourself. And that's basketball or in life, period, right? Like you talk about coaches, some of those coaches aren't honest with their players too, right? When we talk about lip service and we talk about action, like they don't give them what they really need to hear because they don't know how to teach them and put them in those places, right? Like sometimes honesty, like I appreciate Coach Thomas and you and a lot of coaches I had because they were honest with me from the beginning about, look, these are your limitations. You can't do this right now. And now I gotta accept it for what it is. They told me what it is. It was black and white with no gray area. This is it. And this isn't what it is. So now I gotta say, okay, I'm either get in my feelings and be upset, or I'm gonna be like, all right, he told me what I wasn't good at. So what I am good at, I'm gonna be great at. And then on the back end, I'm gonna work on those things. But coaches don't always do that.
What you said there in terms of what you did is one out of a million players. Yeah. Being able to have that type of self-awareness at that young age. For most players, it's about the communication.
Yeah.
You can tell a player, here are your limitations for now. This is what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
But this is what you're able to do in the future if we do this. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, how you communicate what a player can do. And, I'm a prime example of that. I went to college and I was a pretty good athlete. And my first day, I was told that I sucked. But in the same sense, I had a coaching staff that would tell you that you can do this if you do this. And so therefore you understood that.
Did they show you too?
They showed, yes. Yeah, they not only told us, they showed you, and they showed you in terms of physically on the court, film, and in other examples as well. And because everybody has their own way of learning and processing things. So they covered all the bases. And that's one thing that coaches have to do in terms of the players, especially young players. You have to find out what's their best mode of communication.
Yeah.
And for players, when a coach tells you something that you don't want to hear, don't take it as an insult. Take it as something that's going to help you in the future because they're being honest with you.
Yeah.
So now you know where you need to go.
Yeah.
And and now you just need to figure out how you get there, and then that will determine when you get there.
Yeah, that's important too. When we talk about like the evolution of the game and all those other things, and that happens on the sidelines and in the lines, right? Like as a coach, part of your growth too is understanding the best ways to communicate, right? I think that's why I love Phil Jackson as a coach too, because he could communicate with any and everybody, right? You talk about him having a guy like Dennis Rodman, right? But then before we came into the pod, I was watching a little bit of All the Smoke. Shout out to Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and they just had Meta on there. And Meta talked about how, and Matt Barnes played a year with Meta there, and Phil Jackson. They talked about how Phil just knew what exactly to say to Ron Artest, the Meta world peace, to get him to, to make those things and change. Like coaches that spend that time and figure that out, like you figure out what make a kid tick, the best way to communicate that, and then you also take the time to learn how to teach better, right? Like I say, like I said all the time, I love the game of basketball, and out of my respect for the game, I never ever thought that I would be a coach because I didn't think I would put in the time that it takes to be an actual coach and do those things. Because watching my Uncle Ro, like watching you guys put those hours in and things, I was like, I don't think I really want to do that, right? At least not now. But just knowing what it entails and the type of energy and the responsibility you have for the youth, like you got to spend your time developing as a communicator and developing as a basketball mind. Because you said earlier about creativity. You want your players to still be creative, right? You want them to still feel comfortable to be creative, right? But you want to make sure they know, be creative, but still do what I ask you to do.
I mean, they're kids, whether you're a kid or a professional player, you want them to feel comfortable in the space that I can go outside the box. Mm-hmm. I've already checked this box, and I'm in a good space. So now let me do something to add to my game.
Yeah.
And if you're checking certain boxes that your coach or your coaching staff, needs you to do for the team, then they're going to allow you that outside space to do your thing.
Yeah.
And to allow you to grow as a player.
Yeah. That's important too. I mean, what that leads to is a better experience for everybody, right? Like when you can back up what you're saying with your actions, that's different. It's not a lot. Like Ho said, less is more, so there's plenty of us, right? There's not everybody that's going to be in that space to where you understand, like, look, if I'm going to say something, I got to back it up. I think that's one of the things, too, that puts me in a space now to where as a younger generation, you have a responsibility too, right? A lot of times we look at the older guys and we'll say like, you guys talk too much, hate and blah, 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 blah. But like, you got to give the OG something to be proud of. You got to give them something to look to. You got to give them something to be like, that's one of them that's standing by what they say that they're going to do. And if they don't get it completely like they're going to try to, then they're at least putting in the effort, right? They say sometimes you shoot for the moon and you land in the stars, or is it you shoot for the stars and land on the moon? It's one of them things, right?
Ethan, you need to know this stuff right away. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well,
you already messed us up the first time, so you need to be our fact checker.
That's the woo, man. You're supposed to pick it up, man. That might be shout out to Pop Smoke. It's one of those. But, you reaching for certain things. You talking about, I tell everybody I want to be here, I want to be there. And you work for it continuously. And you may not get exactly what it is that you thought you wanted, but you prepared yourself so when you land somewhere else, you're like, oh, okay, this right here is solid. But we gotta show that effort too as a younger generation because we have a responsibility of our own.
Yeah. And more importantly for me, if you land somewhere somewhat short of what your original destination was, you can sleep better at night knowing that you gave everything you had. Because believe it or not, if you have a certain destination in mind and you fall short, but you didn't put in the work, you will live with regret.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And if you're a man or woman of faith, whether that's Islam or Christianity, or if you're just somebody that's in tune with the universe and you say you're just spiritual or whatever else, what's for you is for you and it's going to find you. Whether or not you have something else that's in your mind, I am of the belief that what's for you was already written, right? But you got to work towards that. So if you missed the mark on the one thing that you thought you wanted, but you land somewhere and it's still pretty fire, prime example, me, I wanted to be in Cali. I wanted to do things there, but I'm here in Dubai, so it's not where I thought I was going to be, but I was preparing myself for what was coming because I knew something was coming and I was ready for when I got here. Like, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? You really don't fall short. Sometimes we got to sit and reflect on that to where it's like, we can prepare for things, but we don't have to plan it. And there's a difference. Plans are made to be broken. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? Plans are made to be broken. Like, whenever you try to limit yourself to that, you put yourself in a box. You just got to prepare for whatever opportunity about to come to you, Yeah.
Be your best self all the time.
That's real. That's real. And be ready for it. So, man, to be honest, we just did 3 hours worth of material. 3 hours worth of material. 3 hours worth of material because Ethan didn't press the record button, man. That's wild. But look, as we said, like, sometimes you gotta roll with the punches. And we've had the lip service from Ethan. Ethan and I have talked about some things coming from the future, right? And now we're gonna see what the action like now, because after this podcast is over, when the end button is hit and we're done recording, I'm gonna have some things for him for sure.
There we go with the construction next door.
Yeah, and just to give you guys kind of some insight, Coach and I, and this is something that I've learned, and I guess everybody can pick up their own lesson from it. Sometimes people have big plans, and Matham said this before too. Matham is our partner as well from out of Kuwait. Shout out to him and Dahlia, their amazing family. An extension of our family. But he said something to me, and Coach says to me all the time, is that sometimes people have these big plans, but they never get into action, right? They overthink it. It's not just right. The time is not right. I don't have things here with that. And sometimes for me, because I think I'm a bit of a visionary to a certain extent, and like a creative person to an extent, to where I want things to look a certain way from the jump, right? And you talk about those slow cooked meals and having to work up to it. We wanted the podcast to start a certain way, right? But we got borrowed equipment. You know what I'm saying? Like we're working towards getting some other stuff. We got borrowed equipment and we're recording. And shout out to Abdullah Collectif, one of the best videographer in the UAE. But we got equipment that we borrowed and we're recording in Coach's apartment upstairs, upstairs from mine, right? So outside you hear construction going on because Dubai is. Man, listen, Dubai have an empty lot one month, and in 2 months, it's a brand new high-rise apartment. Like, it gets done. So that work is going on outside. So you probably hear some of that, and I'm not editing it out. I want you to hear all that raw intention and, like, where we started at, because what we just figured is we got some stuff to share, so we'll figure the rest out later, So with that, if you hear anything in the background, so what? We're not in the studio yet. And we may never be, because I like sitting here and chilling right here. But post-game wrap-up, that after-game speech. I'm going to go first because I know the OG got some heavy stuff to lay. But for me, you're going to feel every emotion possible. Like my guy Nipsey says, you feel everything going through your journey. You feel the struggles, you feel the wins, you feel the losses, you may feel underappreciated, you may feel ignored, you may feel like, you deserve something and it's not coming and somebody else is getting it, whatever it is, you're feeling it,
You're feeling like you don't want to wake up. You're too tired. But that's part of the process. That's part of the journey. You just can't give up. You just got to make sure that your vision and what you believe in is stronger and is pushing you further than those moments of doubt and uncertainty. So you're going to feel all those emotions. Feel them, recognize them, embrace them, but don't let them overtake you. Keep going.
For me, I'll keep it short and sweet. For those of you that have certain goals in whether it be sports, relationships, life, academics, whatever, if it's something that you have something that you want that you've never had before, just be prepared to do whatever you've never done before to achieve it. Because if you don't put in the work, there's no way you're going to get something you've never had before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hope that sits in with y'all. You guys interact with us. If you're in the UAE, if you're in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, wherever, Coach King and I are, we're as accessible as you can possibly be in a pandemic, of course. So, you can head over to our website if you want training, if you want to be around us. Hoopmountain.ae. Our Instagram page is at Hoopmountain.ae. We have our Facebook page as well for the podcast at Bridgin The Gap _ Twitter coming soon. We're on Facebook as well as Bridgin The Gap. Some dope things coming forward. You guys are going to be feeling great being a part of this journey. Thank you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, send us any feedback, talk to us, let us know what's going on. Thank you guys for logging in, tapping in with us. We're about to really put Ethan to work.
If you think you got some game, hit us up too so you can get in on this bump. Yeah,
for sure, because I'm tired of serving King the same dinners every day. Every day I'm giving him the same cook. I think tomorrow I might try to give him a different plate, man. But same thing. But, you guys tap in with us. Check in. We're around. Let's build this basketball culture. That's a wrap. All right, you gonna press the end button?